All right. Different microphone setup for once. Let's see how this goes. So guys, in the past week, I've been shooting a bunch of talking head videos for my freelance filmmaking work. They've been 2-camera interview setups, even though they've been actually direct to camera where the talent is looking to camera, just like I do in these YouTube videos. I've been using the Canon C200 as my A camera, and I've been using the EOS R as my B camera. So we got to location earlier in the week, and I had one room that I had to film 2 interviews in. There's a pretty big issue as soon as I walked in, because this space was extremely boring. Now, this isn't a bad space in terms of like, it's not a really ugly location, but it is just really boring. It's like standard sort of classroom setup. How do you make this look good? So quick fire today, I'm going to share with you 5 quick tips about how you can shoot better, more engaging, more cinematic video in boring spaces. Number 1 is to create depth. Now, I was quite lucky in this room, even though it wasn't the most engaging of space, it was quite big. I had quite a lot of room to work with. So whenever you're shooting video, step a few meters away from the wall and shoot with your subject and your talent at least a few meters away from it if you can. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you the footage that I was shooting in the space, but I did jump into frame myself here, and you can see that I am a good sort of maybe couple of meters away, and I was actually shooting into the corner. Shooting into the corner is a really good way to create depth in a shot. Next up is to use windows. Now, most rooms will come with a window or sort of natural source of light. It's fairly unlucky if you're filming in a room that has literally no source of external light. You can use that window to your advantage. You can have a look at this shot here. Like, I'm exposing for the window in this shot, and then by adding an additional light to the front of my face, you create a much more engaging, more cinematic image than if I was just shooting this against a wall. You could even, if you wanted to, actually use the light from the window to light your subject's face. If it's a nice overcast day, that will work really well as well. Use long lenses. On my Canon EOS R, let me go get it, I was actually using this lens. This is the Canon 70 to 200mm f2.8. This is one of my favorite lenses. I talk about it a lot here on the channel, but that's always mounted on my B camera because that allows me to really punch in, zoom in on my subject's face, and hopefully create a slightly more compressed image with a nice shallow depth of field, a nice shallow blurry background, and anything that's in the background of the frame will generally look a lot better if you're shooting on a nice long lens. You don't necessarily do that all the time on your A camera. I was actually using a 50mm on my A camera C200, but on the B cam, a nice long lens is a great option. Another tip to help with that is to shoot wide open. Like I said, I was shooting on a 50mm on my A camera, and I stopped right down to f1.8. That will increase the amount of separation between your subject and your background. And again, once we use that with maybe having a window in the background and creating some depth in the frame, that is really going to mean that you are getting a good separation between the background and your subject. And then finally, if you can, change the space. Use plants, use pots. You can actually see in this shot here, I went from a really boring looking frame with absolutely nothing in the frame at all to having, we just added a piece of art that we found around the sort of floor, and that was just an immediate step up. This horrible sort of white canvas wall went from looking just like a white blob to actually being broken up and looking quite interesting. And we have it, guys, just like that. Those are some tips to create more cinematic images, more beautiful images, even if you're filming in not the most ideal of circumstances. Sometimes this happens. Your client will say they've got a great space and actually it's pretty dull and pretty boring. Hopefully these tips have been helpful though, and you'll be able to shoot some great looking video the next time you're in one. That's it for this one. I hope you have found it useful and helpful, and I'll catch you guys next week.